Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan, and today we need to talk about some huge Canucks news and moves. Firstly, with Bruce Boudreau being hired as the new coach for Vancouver, replacing Travis Green, as well as a potential move with Jim Benning as potentially former GM of the Vancouver Canucks. But when it comes to all this news, what does it mean for the Vancouver Canucks? What other changes will be coming, and what will happen with this new look Vancouver Canucks team? Watch till the end for all of the latest updates, all of the latest rumors on the Vancouver Canucks, and make sure you hit that subscribe. But if you are new, 55% of the people that are watching are not subscribed. If you like hockey, this channel is the place to be. Now, as I'm recording this, Bruce Boudreau replacing Travis Green is the only known move that we have, but we have seen a lot of recent talk about Jim Benning potentially being fired as GM of the Vancouver Canucks. And we're going to first touch on the Bruce Boudreau and Travis Green news, which came out this evening out of nowhere seemingly, even though, again, it was a long time coming, when Elliotte Friedman said this: hearing tonight that Bruce Boudreau will be the next coach at Vancouver Canucks. Not sure on exact timelines, but change was made sometime today. Not sure when official announcement will be made. So again, the change was made today, and Travis Green knows about it, and he has been fired as the Canucks coach, which is huge news for this Canucks team that has gone out and said that they don't want to be too hasty in making moves. A lot of blah 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 bullcrap and a lot of stuff that really was padding it out to try and not make any moves. Now we see Vancouver finally making some moves. Now, one of the most interesting things about this situation for me is that it was confirmed by Satira Shah of Sportsnet that this wasn't a move by management. This wasn't a move by Jim Benning. Jim Benning doesn't have Bruce Boudreau as his guy for coach. That seemingly is on the ownership who has made this move. And we also have some room here with the official announcement not coming out yet that there could be more moves on top of this from ownership and from Francisco Aquilini, which again leads to even more changes, aka a Jim Benning fire. And having the ownership make this move is especially interesting because I thought if we did see Travis Green get fired, it would have came from Jim Benning to potentially make Travis Green the scapegoat of Jim Benning's failures. Even though, yes, Travis Green has a lot of and does have a lot of deserved criticism his way for how he's handled this team so far this year, I feel like Jim Benning's also been a big part of that and has still put out a team that just simply put isn't good enough. But again, I thought if Travis Green was going to get fired, it would have came from Jim Benning trying to save his butt, trying to save his job, as most GMs typically do. But again, it's coming from the ownership, which I think again leads us to believe that they are obviously not happy with this current situation and could potentially have some more moves made. Now, after the whole debacle when it came to this, we of course got more details on the Bruce Boudreau deal, and he'll be getting a 2-year contract for this year and next. So not a huge contract by any means, and it doesn't seem like Vancouver is totally committed to Bruce Boudreau as the coach, even though again, this is a pretty big deal even for Vancouver. In this situation, they need this next coach to be an absolute slam dunk. And I feel like for the Canucks, even though they aren't committed fully long term, I feel like they might as well be, or else that ownership especially will get a lot more criticism. But after the whole Bruce Boudreau situation, we of course got more things on Jim Benning. But for my tastes right now, I feel like Jim Benning is in a position where he doesn't exactly have a lot of time on his hands, which again is surprising that he wasn't the guy making this deal. But going back to Bruce Boudreau, I feel like honestly he has a real good shot of potentially turning this Canucks team around. Maybe not this season, I'm not sure if they have anything left this year, but I feel like next year we could maybe see some difference in the Canucks game. I feel like with Bruce Boudreau, he's a lot more of a stingy, hard-nosed guy, but still has a lot of leeway for the younger players, as we've seen with his teams in Washington, as we saw with his teams in Anaheim, and even teams in the Minnesota Wild. I feel like he'll be able to give maybe Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes more confidence, which seemed like the biggest problem really in Travis Green's tenure, which was surprising considering how young Green was. But I feel like Boudreau might give those guys more opportunities, might actually play them the right way, and that would open up a lot more success. I feel like just having Elias Pettersson actually get to Elias Pettersson's game would be a huge turnaround for Vancouver, and that's only one thing about the team. And of course, we eventually got some more answers on what might be happening with Jim Benning. And again, as I'm recording this, we don't have an official word on if we will see Jim Benning fired, but all signs point to him pretty much being done with the Vancouver Canucks. About a few minutes after the Travis Green news and Bruce Boudreau news came out, Darren Dreger had a fascinating tweet saying this: confirming major changes in Vancouver, as we already knew. Boudreau going in as coach for this season and next year. More significant changes likely as well. And then he goes on to say, sounds like Scott Walker will be going into Vancouver with Bruce Boudreau. But we need to talk about that last part of the tweet where he says more significant changes, more are likely to come. And we also saw Darren Dreger go on TSN and continue that, as well as giving even more details on this situation. From Boast Mode, he said this: Dreger just said on TSN that he's heard betting is out and are working on confirmation. So Dreger right now is hearing that Jim Benning is done in Vancouver. All he needs is just a little bit more confirmation on those sources to officially get that word out there. That is how close we are to a potential Jim Benning firing, and that's kind of why I'm surprised we haven't even heard it come out yet. As I'm recording this, it feels like we're on the verge of this happening, and it could happen again as I'm recording this right now, which is crazy to think about. And as I'm recording this, David Pagnotta has also had a really interesting tweet saying this: there is chatter the Canucks have made more moves beyond firing Green, with some unconfirmed talk surrounding a GM change. Stay tuned. So again, not just from Darren Dreger, but also David Pagnotta, it feels like, and it feels just so close, that we will see an actual Jim Benning firing. And this was always the thing that I went back to time and time again. If you just got rid of Travis Green, even though you would see some issues alleviated, you don't get to the root of the problem. And I think that's the management. And even though Francisco Aquilini obviously has a lot of criticism to his name, I feel like if you had a complete overhaul, just like how Montreal had with their system, I feel like Vancouver could be so much more successful and so much more competent. I feel like there's great strength in this Canucks core. I feel like there's potential to be had here. But again, it goes back to Jim Benning hiring Travis Green. It goes back to him hiring all the coaches there in Vancouver. This is what Jim Benning has built, not just on the roster, but in terms of the coaching staff. And even though the roster might be okay, Jim Benning should still be fired for how he's built this coaching staff into a coaching staff that's failed the players he's put out there. It's a lot of the job of being a GM is having the right guys under you to take care of your team. And I feel like Jim Benning has mishandled that completely in his time in Vancouver. And I think that's a big reason why we will see a change. But again, I go back to the situation. If you just fired Travis Green and kept Jim Benning, I don't think there would have been much long-term game. Maybe short-term with Bruce Boudreau, they might be better, and I think they definitely will be, but you aren't getting to the root of the problem. Firing Jim Benning, though, is the exact type move that Vancouver needs. Obviously, Jim Benning is a great drafter. Obviously, he's a guy that can develop well, but this team needs more than that. They need great free agent acquisitions. They need actually great trades, and I feel like for Vancouver, in the direction they're heading, they need somebody who can actually be competent in those standards, and somebody that, frankly, isn't Jim Benning. And it wasn't even just the one move thinking it would cure all thing that I was kind of worried about with Vancouver. I was also getting more and more worried that they would let Jim Benning be a part of the trade deadline and be the GM during that crucial time with this Canucks core. And it seems like finally, the Canucks are coming to their senses. Honestly, Jim Benning and Travis Green should have been fired weeks ago, but at least there has been some initiative to be better and to actually make the right moves. If Jim Benning is gone, that does actually mean progress. And even though, yes, it is late, at least it's not too late to where you can't at least get somebody in time for the trade deadline. I fear that it might be still too late because they'll probably have to put an interim GM and try to find somebody for the trade deadline, which is only a couple of months away. But I feel like for the Canucks, at least they're trying now and are actually making changes, which is a lot better than what we were seeing a couple of weeks ago, where the ownership and the management was talking with each other, trying to see, what's going on, what's up with the team. Now it seems like we've finally seen some changes, and that is for the better in Vancouver. And the reason I was so worried of moves not being made is because I think this Vancouver team just has so much potential oozing from the roster. I mean, just Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, Thatcher Demko, these can be elite players. And I feel like the Canucks, it just feels like time and time again over the past couple of years, have surrounded them and not put them in the greatest positions they possibly could be. Elias Pettersson is a perfect example. Obviously, I think a lot of his play has been due to the coaching, but it's also been due to the management that's put that coaching in place, that has had that from day one. And I feel like, again, going back to the ownership, allowing Travis Green to be able to do this to guys like Elias Pettersson and having their games drop as much as they have been for so long should also be against them. The patience was just not needed in this situation. We knew from almost day one with this Canucks team this year that they were not what they were supposed to be. And I said this Canucks team would be a playoff team. I had full faith they would take that next step, get rid of some of the injury and COVID woes they had last year, and be a lot better of a team. But that was, again, mostly going to the roster, not the coaching, which has obviously failed this Canucks team. And Elias Pettersson is a prime example of how much improvement could be made with Vancouver if they just made the right changes and actually fired the people they needed to fire. But for right now, it does seem like change is finally coming to Vancouver, especially the coaching. I think that will definitely help players like Pettersson, players like Demko especially. I'm glad to see that coaching change come, and I honestly do think Bruce Boudreau is a pretty solid acquisition for him, even though, again, the playoff success might not be there. I think it's a step in the right direction, and I would definitely rather have Boudreau than Travis Green. And obviously, we'll have to wait a little while for this Jim Benning replacement, but it does seem like a Jim Benning move, and firing is going to happen. Whether it's today, we'll have to find out, but it seems like the eventuality is finally coming to us, and Jim Benning, hopefully, will no longer be the GM of the Vancouver Canucks. It seems imminent at this point, and again, it seems like the Canucks have finally come to their senses. But all I'm saying, Vancouver, do not wait for Jim Benning to make a JT Miller trade tonight and ruin everything before he goes. If that happens, then, yeah, I guess it's deserved at that point. But that is pretty much all of my thoughts on what we've seen so far. And again, we will likely see this Jim Benning move happen, so I'm kind of assuming it's going to happen in this video because it practically has at this point. But again, I do think the Travis Green move is a huge one and a great great step for this franchise that has desperately needed a different step in terms of the management and coaching. It feels like change is coming for Vancouver, just like it was needed in Montreal, and that is an absolutely beautiful thing. But let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think of these moves about Benning being out, Bruce Boudreau coming in? Let me know all your thoughts on this Vancouver Canucks team. What should they do next? Who should they hire? Who should they trade? Let me know. And of course, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this video with friends, get it out there. Click on this card for all of my hockey trade rumor content right in one playlist. My name is Nathan. I hope you have an absolutely amazing day, and an amazing day, especially if you're a Canucks fan, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.